What's up, guys? Welcome back to Face with Terrance Weaver. I'm Tarrance. I have another exciting segment today. Last week we talked about discovering love with Alex, and within that interview, me and Alex discussed her venture in discovering what love is. And today, we're going to have Alex's mom here, Lonetta, to talk about her version of love and help us get a better understanding of love, of Alex, of the bigger portion of what a family is. And I'm really excited about that today. But not only that, I had to, I guess, venture inside of myself and get a better understanding of what love is too. So as me and Lonetta talked earlier, prior to this recording, I realized a lot of things about myself that will be displayed within our talk too. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Lonetta to the show. Welcome, Lonetta.
Thanks, Tarrance.
Glad you're here. So for the viewers and the people that are watching this, who is Lonetta?
Well, besides being a human being,
Yes.
I'm a mother first,
Mother first, okay.
teacher second,
Okay.
and a friend third.
Okay. So you say you're a teacher here in Chicago. So how long have you been here in Chicago?
My whole life.
Oh, born and raised.
Mhm.
Okay. So what do you teach, or not necessarily where, but what do you teach, and how are you helping out with this teaching realm?
I'm an instructional assistant, so the kids that I support, they don't have to be like diverse learners.
Okay.
They could just be general ed kids.
Okay.
I support any of the kids in the building, and usually it's you'll find instructional assistants like in preschool.
And the younger
Yeah.
ages. Okay. And that is weird that you say that, because when I first got to the school helping the Bishop Spencer Jones out, he assigned me to the school, and when I first walked into the school, your face with a smile was one of the first ones that I met. So I met you way before I ever met Alex.
Right.
And with you being a part of that school, I understood that your mission and your goal was whenever we came up the stairs into the school, we saw you guys, we saw the presence of a family, parents being really involved with this and helping guide the kids through to their classes, to help them out throughout the day, to get them a better understanding, which I love the fact that parents are involved in the schools here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, I met your daughter in the school after
Yeah.
meeting you. And can you tell me about your family and your family structure? So do you have more kids than Alex, or
Yeah, I have a total of 7.
7 kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you give me the rundown?
Marquita is the oldest.
Okay.
Then you have Alicia, which is the second older. We call her Lisa.
Okay.
And then you have Walter, which is my first son.
Okay.
Then you have Michelle, who's the middle child, and she lets everybody know she's the middle child too. Then you have Alex, who,
Okay.
Alexandria, and then you have Kyrell and Elijah, who's the baby.
Okay. So as a mom,
Mhm.
you don't have favorites, but who is your favorite, or does the favorite just kind of switch as years go on?
It does, it switches. It switches, and I don't really have a favorite. It's just the child that I'm the closest to, the one that comes to me, the one that's the easiest for me to talk to, the easiest to get things out of.
Okay.
So it's not really a favorite. It's just that kid in that particular space at that particular time,
Okay.
And they all think, oh, that's your favorite, that's your favorite. No, because they think that Elijah's the favorite. Elijah's the baby.
Oh yeah, I was
So,
the baby.
you know,
You gotta fight for that position.
Yeah, right. They say Marquita's the favorite. Marquita's the oldest.
Yeah.
So, they kind of like, it's either the oldest or the youngest. Well, they'll never know.
So as a parent, you just kind of have to keep that a secret. You just
Yeah.
kind of just
Yeah.
go with the punches. Okay. So what is parenting to you, and how did you develop your parenting skills? For example, me, my mom was there. I took the best out of my mom, and I took the best out of my dad, and I took, the best out of my grandmas, because grandmas play a big role in raising a lot of the kids whenever the parents are out working or the parents aren't around. So I took all of that, shook it up in a box, and like, ta-da, this is me. And I try to apply that to Jackson, and I have no idea if it's working or not.
It's not.
Because Jackson's like, yeah, you know, he's just so bossy. He's just like me, though, you know?
Yeah.
So
with parenting, you learn as you go. There is no book that'll ever tell you anything. There is nobody that can tell you how to raise your kids, because all kids are different.
Okay.
And we all come from different places. And we're raised differently. Like, I was raised in a home where my mother didn't let me go anywhere.
Okay.
If I wasn't with my sisters, I was at home.
So as a parent, you learn through your mistakes. You don't try to avoid the mistakes. You make them, but you just learn through them. And
I started out raising Marquita the way I was raised, and she hates it.
okay.
You never let me do anything. So, you know, I learned with the next one, okay, maybe I need to be a little more lenient. Maybe I should let her go. Maybe I should let her do stuff. And you never let me do none of that. So you kind of learn. You learn your kids.
I always said I couldn't wait to have kids so I can just set the remote right here. But Jackson, come give me the remote. My mom used to do that, and the remote sitting right beside her. I walk in like, really, Mom? It's right there. Bring it to me. You know, or like castor oil. Like I used to hate it. My grandma made me drink castor oil when I was sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, Grandma, my foot hurts. Here, drink this castor oil. You know, I'm like, I can't wait to do these things. But that is, you know, part of the love and discovering and understanding what love is. And as parents, like you said, we make mistakes and nobody's perfect. And each kid is different.
Yeah.
And along those lines, tell me who Alex is from a parental point of view. And hold on real quick. So to the viewers, by the way, she has not watched Discovering Love with Alex yet. She said that she's going to wait and watch Alex's video after her and Alex sit down and do their video together, which is coming after this one.
Right.
But sorry I interrupted you, but tell me who Alex is.
Alex is my youngest daughter. She's also the child that I talk to the most.
Okay.
Alex does my hair. Alex tells me, "Oh, Mom, that don't look right." Don't you know? She's just like my little fashion designer. Okay. She's also the child that I spend a lot of time. People wouldn't even realize that we spend that much time together because we're not together.
Yeah.
We talk to each other every day.
Yeah.
When she's at school, we talk every day. Alex, what's going on? So she's the one that I really communicate more with.
Okay.
Even though Elijah's in the house, Elijah come up, and those are the two closest kids, my two closest kids.
Okay.
As far as, you know, parenting, Ma, this is what I hear between the two of them.
So it never stops, even from toddler up until mom,
no.
dad. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did an amazing job raising Alex and all of your kids.
Thank
to be
you.
honest, I've met all of them. All of them have different personalities, like you said. All of them have very strong personalities, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Would you say there's things about Alex and your kids that you don't know?
Yeah, truly, I know it is. And I'm just waiting to find out. I mean, as they get older, I find out little things that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out things that they've broken in the house, and they all hid them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for them. And everybody's going, I don't know. No. Somebody needs to tell me where my stuff is. And then, you know, years later, they tell you, oh, my, you know, I broke that. What?
Like I should go back and whoop you from way back
Yeah,
then. I'm gonna reach
yeah,
you way back to the past.
I'm like, energy not even worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing you.
Totally understand. So to the viewers, you know my style. I love to get into the nitty gritty. And now that you got to know who Lonetta is, I'm gonna dig into some of the questions that we already talked about previously. So, you said you have how many kids?
7.
7 kids. And of those 7 kids, you had your first child's dad is who?
It's Joe.
It's Joe.
Joe is my husband that's deceased. We got married 20-some years prior to our relationship ending. But we remained friends because we had to raise our daughter.
Okay. Okay.
And I didn't want to make him feel like, oh, you don't have no rights to her because we're not together. No, we're going to raise her together.
And that's Marquita.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you and Joe stopped talking for a while?
Yeah.
And then that's when you met?
Tony, which is Alicia's dad.
Alicia's dad, okay. And Alicia shares the same dad with?
Nobody.
With nobody?
Nobody.
Okay.
Her and Marquita are the only two that have, it's just one kid that's, their father.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have?
The last five.
Okay.
Walter, Michelle, Alexandria, Kyrell, and Elijah.
Okay. And they have the same dad?
Yeah.
And then you got back with Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me about Joe. Because he was a special guy. I got a chance to meet him and talk with him. Every time I would go by and pick Alex up to mentor her, Joe would come out, just to check everything out, check the car out. He wouldn't say much, but he meant, just looked, said a lot. And I was like, just, come to pick her up, to take her out, hang out with her, and the other kids, take them to camp or whatever it may be. But he seemed like a special guy. Can you tell me a little bit about Joe?
He's one of these people that you meet him and you automatically gravitated towards him.
Yeah.
It's just his personality. My kids have known him since they were babies, so it was like when we got married, their dad decided he would appear and thought that he was just gonna, he was like, man, you know what, I always wanted 7 kids and I got them. And he was like,
one of the big families.
kind of knocked him down, He's like, I got them. These 7 mines, don't worry about it. It's good. You don't never do nothing for them. They're going to be okay.
That is amazing. So he stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. He never treated my kids differently. If he came, he gave Marquita money. He gave all of them some money. He came and he brought ice cream. All of them got ice cream. That's just how he was. He never made a difference with them. And so they all respected him the same. Okay. Not, that's your daddy and this, no. Never had that issue, no. Hey, Joe, how you doing? And then once we got married, it went from being Joe to being Pops to being, Dad, different things.
I love it. So tell me about the day you got the phone call.
The day I got the phone call was the last day of school before winter break, 2014.
Okay.
And so I was at work. I get a phone call. My daughter's hysterical on the phone. My son grabs the phone and say, Mom, you need to go to the hospital. I say, what happened? He's like, Joe fell out, I don't know. So I go to the hospital and I'm thinking, okay, what don't happen to him? Because only one thing that I know that was affecting him, his health, but it wasn't like a major thing.
Right.
It was, something that people get and they take their medication or they aren't medicated.
Right.
So it works whichever way, And the autopsy never showed anything. So they don't even know what he died of. Just, people die. And when they die, sometimes you know and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. And for the viewers, Joe was outside on the porch?
He went outside. He smoked. I don't smoke, but he smoked. So he went outside to have a smoke, and the next thing Walter said he heard was a thump because Walter was in the kitchen.
And you guys were up on the 3rd or 4th floor?
We was on the 2nd floor.
I was like, I remember going out to the back and realizing that you had a bunch of stairs going up. Okay, so 2nd floor. And you heard a thump.
Walter was in the kitchen cooking, and they were joking before Joe went out on the porch. They were joking, talking about, I know you don't fix me some breakfast, right? And so they were joking, and the next thing he said he heard a thump, and he stopped and turned around, and he was just laying out. And so he didn't know what was going on. He turned off the stove and went and, just to see if he was okay. Did he pass out? What happened? And he said he wasn't breathing. He could hear him breathing, but it was shallow.
Yeah.
And so he started doing CPR on him. And Michelle was hysterical. He told her, go call 911.
Yeah.
Why you being hysterical? Go call 911. And Walter's not a really excitable child, you know, but he was calm enough to get, to keep him breathing until they got there.
Yeah. At the time, how old was Walter, would you say?
Walter is 25 now, and that was 6 years ago. So he had to be 18, 19.
Yeah. So you have your husband, their dad, their pops, somebody they really looked up to, died right in front of them.
Yeah.
And although he was breathing shallow, they took him to the hospital and he didn't make it. So then I do remember going to the funeral. I do remember all of them there. And at that point in time, I didn't know that he wasn't the dad of all of them, because that bond that he had built with each and every one of them was amazing. So you have Alex now, who has lost her dad. So tell me a little bit about Alex's dad. Were you guys like super close, or did you guys eventually fall apart? And if so,
well, her biological father, some things came to light, and at the time he had taken a job in Hawaii.
Okay.
Didn't really tell me, but he had took it. And so that kind of was like, okay, well, after a year, you don't do the things that you said you were going to do when you got ready to leave. I'm going to send for you and the kids once I get settled. That it did none of that. So I divorced him. He wasn't happy about it when he got the paperwork, but it's done.
Yeah. Totally understandable.
And from the point of him leaving, he never really had a lot of contact with them. He would call them every once in a while. If they could get in touch with him, they would call him. And so as time went on, their relationship just kind of took a slope. Never tried to keep them from him. None of that. I've never did that with any of my kids. That's your father. Whether you like it or not, that's your father.
And it's just his responsibility to be there and be present.
To rebuild them.
So in Chicago, I know that in my life, not just Chicago, but in my life, there's a period of time where I lost, a series of people. And I know previously talking to you, you said over a 6-year period of time. I think it's from 2013. For 6 years, you ended up losing one person a year for 6 years.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us a little bit of a rundown about that? And did you go seek counseling?
No, I didn't go seek counseling. The only person I went and got counseling when they died was my mom.
And that wasn't part of the 6?
No. It took me a while to go and seek counseling, but I saw some things happening. I became extremely depressed. Just some other things, my health, different things like that. So I knew I needed to talk to somebody. As far as the 6 that died from 2013, I don't know. I just kind of didn't feel like I needed counseling.
Yeah.
Even though they were close, 3 of my nephews, my sister-in-law, my husband, my brother. I just didn't.
3 nephews.
3 nephews.
Are any of these violent deaths, or is it just health issues?
No. 3 violent deaths. My 3 nephews. My brother, his was health. My sister-in-law's don't really know what happened to her. Wasn't really said what happened to her. And then my husband don't know what happened to him.
Yeah. So that's a lot of weight to carry from 6 people.
Yeah.
And was your mom before the 6?
Yeah, my mom was, my mom died when I was 19.
Okay.
So before any of my kids was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about I guess if I can say it in this manner,
Mm.
instead of counseling, we tend to cope.
Yep.
And what we do is we say, I'm going to be strong for this person. I'm going to be strong for my kids when my husband died. I need to be strong for my sister when her son died. I need to be strong for my brother, wife, or whatever it is. And that's a lot of burden that we keep carrying and we're putting on our shoulders.
Yeah.
And before long, coping becomes a problem. Down the road, you can cope with it today, but tomorrow is going to be a problem.
Yeah, but I've learned that talking about it eases it. Because when you share things with people that are going through the same thing you're going through, it makes it easier and it lightens the load on you.
Yeah.
Because now you've gotten that out. You share it with somebody that may help them.
Yeah.
May help them to deal with it. May help them to go, okay, well, maybe I do need to go see somebody because this is a lot.
And I'm glad you even said that too, because what happens here is we have 6 people that passed in your family, and those 6 people were tied to different people in different positions. So you grieve in a certain way when you lost your husband, but also your kids are grieving in a certain way because they lost their dad.
Yeah.
And it's hard for a wife and a mom to connect to their child, and it's almost like you're grieving in 2 different directions, and you don't want to talk about it to bring it up because you know that they're hurting.
But the hardest part of that was to tell them.
To make the phone call to tell them?
I didn't make a phone call and tell them. I came home and told them. I waited for all of them to be in one place. Marquita, of course, left work and came to the hospital. Her husband was also there. Well, her husband now. They weren't married then, but her husband now, he was there. Actually, he was there before I got there.
Yeah.
Because he had dropped my granddaughter off like he did every day to my husband, who watched her every day. But he was there, and when they gave me the news, he was like, y'all gotta be kidding. This can't, no, what? 5 minutes ago he was fine, breathing and everything. But what happened between that getting to the hospital and y'all taking him back? What happened? And so, Marquita was there, so she already knew, but her other 6 siblings didn't.
So you allow for all of them to come home from school and to come to the house, and you get them all in one room, and then you walk in.
Well, by that time, they were all either en route home or they were there. Alex, Kyrell, Elijah were on their way. They were like really close to being home. And of course, Michelle and Walter were already at home. And Lisa, she wasn't that far either because she had left from where she was at too. So, it was kind of easy once they all got there to tell them all together.
And one at a time.
And they were all like, just stop playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not playing. This is not a joke. This is not a nightmare, even though it feels like one.
Yeah. And to tell them that, their hero, somebody they love, looked up to, adopted, took on to this position, is gone. And they won't see him no more. And I know that there's consoling that happened during that time. And you, like you say, that probably had to be the hardest thing. You had to look them in the eyes, but yet still be strong as a mom to tell them that everything's gonna be okay, even though you don't know.
Don't know. Had no idea going from being in a household where we pulled together everything to being in a household where I had to pull a lot together myself.
And what most people don't realize is this, that Joe left, went to the hospital, he didn't come back home. You still had to sleep in the same bed. You had to get up in the same routine. They're expecting, him to be there to say, hey, you gonna make me some breakfast too? Or, go open the door, go out and smoke a cigarette. That routine is there, yet he isn't.
Right.
And you're still having to walk through this as though everything is fine.
And then the craziest thing is, the only child of mine that left was Quita. Lisa didn't leave. The other 5 were there all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But them 2, Marquita went home to her house.
Yeah.
Lisa wouldn't leave. She's like, no, Ma, you need me.
Yeah. She can see the severity in it. You need her.
Mm-hmm. Even though Marquita called me every single day, practically almost every hour on the hour, but yeah.
And instead of going to counseling, you cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I asked them if they wanted to go to counseling, and none of them have ever took me up on it. They say, yeah, Ma, I want to go. They just haven't. And they may be like me. It'll take them a while before they go. They'll call me one day and go, hey, Ma, I'm in counseling. Okay.
Yeah, we all have our own journeys that we have to go through. But one thing I do wish is that, I can't really say we as a people, but the people that I know, we almost refuse to go to counseling. We would rather cope than go to counseling. Yeah. And like you said, it feels good to talk about it, but talking about it with the right people, I think is important. Right. Because they're able to walk you through the steps that need to be touched on and talked about versus, your cousin or your aunt who just sitting there venting and may cut you off and tell you how they feel too, and you just want a listening ear. You want to go through stages of it. And bereavement, when you're grieving, is the process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Each and everybody on their own. But not only that, you said you lost, nephews, nieces.
Nephews, sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Okay.
My brother.
Your brother.
And my husband.
Was your nephews died violently? Was it gang related?
Yes.
Speaking of gangs, have your kids ever been in gangs that you know of?
Well, I've heard that one of them was. I know that one of them hung out with them. Not necessarily was a member, but hung out. Those were her buddies.
Okay. And which daughter was this?
Alicia.
Alicia, okay. So possibly one of your sons may have been hanging around, or would that surprise you, or is it just, or you just like, oh? Because me as a parent, right? I'm like, I got Jackson. I know who Jackson is. I know who he's gonna be. I know every step, and I'm like, after talking with Alex, I'm like,
maybe I don't.
I'm not gonna know who Jackson is.
Yeah.
There's gonna become this point when he's a teenager and he's gonna repel me, or we're gonna bump heads because his knowledge that he's taken from me, pouring into him as a parent, all of these years he has to put it to practice.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be like, Dad, just step away, just let me be, who I'm gonna be. I'm like, nah, I'm your daddy. Like, you need to listen to me. Like, I know where you're gonna go, and I know that's hard as a parent.
You can give them the information. It's up to them what they're gonna do with it. Because I have been very open and vulnerable with my kids about everything, from sex to just everyday things.
Yeah.
When they came and asked me, I told them, and they was like, "Really, Ma?"
I've been asking they wanted, but you
I told them yeah, this, and that, and they was like,
"Really?
Ma, that ain't what they tell us at school." I say, I know, but you asked me.
Yeah.
And that's how my mother was. My mother, when my nephew came and asked her, because I never asked because it never, I just never wanted to know.
No, that's amazing.
But my nephew, who was the person that was going to do the crazy stuff later on in life, he said, oh, well, I'm going to ask her. And so when he asked, I had to learn to. My mom pulled out the whole 9 yards, books and everything. I was like, lady, what is wrong with you?
It's like, if somebody's going to tell you, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
No, that is amazing. But I know that as a parent, there's certain things that kids do that is shocking. Can you give me an example of one that, let's say one of the boys did, that you wouldn't have never expected?
They've done some stuff. The one thing that I would never have expected them to do. They've done a lot of things when I'm not around.
Yeah.
So I've had to hear things.
From other people.
Yeah, from their other siblings. You know, later on, they never tell me, you know, right out when they did it, unless it was like not beneficial to them. So, you know, if I could blackmail you, I'm going to hold on to this as long as I can, you know. But I think that's one thing that they've done, like they blackmail each other so much.
Yeah.
As kids, you know. I'm telling Mama, don't tell her I'll give you whatever you want. But, you know. Then they've held things for years, and I'm starting to get little things.
Now that they're older.
Like, yeah, now that they're older, and they don't think I can do anything about it. Yeah.
Like there's a, what is it, statute of limitation?
Yeah, I get, yeah. Because Elijah's 18, and, you know, he's gone through this whole little thing, his whole little transformation, where he's gotten to the point where, Mom, this is me, and this is what I am, and this is how I'm going to be. Okay.
So you said something that was key. Before I jump on that, give me one thing that was shocking from the boys.
Oh, from the boys.
You didn't even got to say which one.
They have these things that they do which are very dangerous. They've jumped off the porch into a pile of snow from the second floor. Yeah, and I'm like, do you all know how dangerous? But I could have had to go to the hospital and had to explain this.
And you'd be like, that's not my DNA. That's your daddy's DNA.
Yeah, that's your daddy's DNA. Definitely.
What about the girls?
I think the one thing that they've done, and Alex just like really surprised me because, you know, that's the kid I'm closest to. I thought I knew everything, but she did tell me. She came and told me. But they done some stuff too. Mostly fighting. Most of their stuff was fighting each other, you know, because as kids they shared rooms. So Quita and Lisa shared a room. Alex and Michelle shared a room. Quita is the neat freak. Lisa isn't.
Yeah.
Alex is the neat freak. Michelle isn't. So it's like, why's your stuff over here on my... And that's the fight. That starts the whole fight. Why you got my stuff? You know? So it's just... It was really... With my girls, it was fighting.
Yeah. So, fighting with your girls, your boys being...
Dangerous
and adventurous and challenging. And then you're at this school where you're assisting and you're helping. You have all of these kids coming in and out every day, which helps with the personality and your patience, because you have to be patient in two scenarios. One, having your kids, and the other one dealing with elementary up to what, eighth grade there?
Pre-K to 8th.
Pre-K to 8th. There.
And
so,
my kids went to the school too. All 5 of the last 5.
So me and Alex had a discussion, and my theory is that guidance counselors are amazing, but yet there's a level of understanding that they can have because they're mandated by the state. Anything deeper than that, to skim off the top of the milk, if there's anything deeper than that, then they have to report it. So there's a level of confidentiality that's violated at some point in time and throughout a conversation with the kid or with people in general. So the moment that you're mandated by the state, does that only work at the school, or is that like a police officer that's a police officer when they're off duty, they're always a police officer, even an off-duty police officer?
Yeah.
So you're mandated no matter where you are at whatever time. If any student comes up to you and talk to you, so doesn't that violate, like, what about, so you have the mom, Lonetta. You said at the beginning, the mom, Lonetta, you know, you have the sister, Lonetta, you have Miss, you know, Lonetta from the kids, or Miss Kind, Miss Smith, and you have, you know, probably sister Lonetta from church, you know, like whatever.
Right.
So,
Deaconess line, that's what she did, yeah.
So how do you differentiate that? And when did you become just you to where somebody can just come, a kid can just come and lay everything out?
I never become me.
Because all of them are you, but you're just not.
Yeah.
So
all of them are entities of me, which make Lonetta who she is.
So that kid that comes to you at the school and say, "Hey, my mom, my dad is at home doing this." They coming to you looking for a safe place, and you will sit there and you will talk to that kid for a long time. And there becomes a point where if that kid gets too much detail, you have to turn it over, right?
Yeah, depending on what it is. If it's abuse, if it's something that's going to be, that could possibly be a part of, cause their death.
Detrimental to them.
Or could cause bodily harm to them where, we've had kids that have came and told us that they want to commit suicide. We have to report that.
Yeah.
Because you could actually go home and do it. So we have to report it.
And that would be heavy on your conscience that you didn't step in and save them. But the thing with most kids is this. They think about now. I don't want to talk to her now because if she tells now, then I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get taken from my home, or my dad and my mom are going to be angry or whatever. But what you're doing is you're looking to the future or tomorrow.
Right.
Saying that, hey, let me protect you because I understand. I've been there. I've seen this. And if I don't stop it now, then there's long-term damage that could happen.
Yeah. I've had some kids that have come to me and told me things, not things that would cause them bodily harm or things like that. And we sit and we talk. I'm not going to give you any advice. We need to talk about this. My granddaughter wanted to commit suicide. She told them she was crazy. And I had to sign papers because my daughter wasn't available. She wasn't there. My granddaughter went to the school. And I had to sign papers to send her to the mental hospital.
So they had to go evaluate her. Okay. So that was your granddaughter?
Yeah, my oldest granddaughter.
Okay. So along those lines, you being in the school, me and you talked about a scenario where your school is in a violent area, and at one point in time there's a altercation that happened at a store that spilled over to the school. Can you talk about that? And what happened?
These guys, we don't actually know the whole story. All we know is it started at the gas station, and they chased this guy, and they shot him, and he fell out in the middle of our playground, and our kids were outside for recess.
Playground
Literally, the store is on the next block, and so he ran from the next block to the school, passed out, and our kids are on the playground.
See this happening, and they're just...
And he's laying there, and they're looking like, what in the world just happened? And so now we had to take and collect all of them and bring them into the building.
Why?
And straight to our guidance counselor, who is fantastic. And she took them one at a time, and she talked to them. Thank God it was the older kids, so they kind of know the stuff that's going on in the neighborhood. So they're like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. What? How do you know this person? That's the first thing that come up. How do you know this person?
And y'all collected them so fast because y'all were afraid that they was still around as they still gonna come.
That they were gonna start shooting, at the school. And our first priority is protect our kids. So we took them all in, called the police so they could take care of this guy and possibly stop them from killing him.
Wow.
Because we had no idea where the guys were that were shooting at him. We had no idea.
This guy just came and
yeah.
Is that something that's, I can't say common in that area, but is violence something that is...
Yeah.
And a lot of those kids that are there
deal with it on a daily basis because there are people in their families. They're friends of people in their families,
And something you said is like they knew them. They know the people like so and so. That's the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's their neighbor. That's their role model. That's their whatever it may be.
Yeah.
brother, cousin, uncle, like
Yeah.
whoever. But yet they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys lost students
We've
that you know
lost.
of without using names? I
We've
guess?
lost a few students during the pandemic to violence.
I remember you telling me that was one not too long ago
Mm-hmm.
was shot and killed.
Yeah.
And he had already graduated, correct? Or was
He was. I don't know if he had graduated from high school yet.
But definitely from that school. Okay. Yeah, in that area is pretty common, but violence is a part of Chicago, and to be honest, is intertwined and weaved in who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say who we are because of the neighborhoods that we come up in, and whether it's south side of Chicago, west side of Chicago, whether it's, you know, the north side of Aiken, South Carolina, or, you know, in the backwoods. Like, there's somebody somewhere that may have been affected by violence in some manner, and it has, you know, whether it affect, I don't think violence can affect you in a good way. You know, I think in a bad way, it affected you and it kind of altered your direction and where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, like I lost, you know, my brother. I've lost 2 brothers and a mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in my lifetime, and you've lost 6 siblings within 6 years, plus your mom and plus other family members that's outside of that.
Right.
You know, 7 people that we even named. And here you are coping with all of it. Along with that, you saw violence where, you know, people may have died. You saw one scenario we was talking previously where there was a man that had a needle in his arm that OD'd.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw his body as you walked by. And it's just kind of like these type of things are there.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that we're really good at is coping.
Yeah.
We're really good at coping instead of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you said the guidance counselor took all of the kids in and one at a time talked to them to get them through that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't stop there. It
No.
should continue to go. And even further back.
But think about this. It's only so much that she can do with the funding that we have, because Chicago Public School claim they don't have a lot of money, but they don't put it in the right places.
Mm.
You know, that's way I feel they don't put it in the right places.
Okay.
So it's only so much that you can do. You are mandated to counsel this kid for however long it is. I'm not a guidance counselor, so I don't really know how long it is. But at some point, where do we send them after we can no longer, you know, give them the guidance that they need?
Send them back home to the mom who's grieving.
Or send them, fling them to the support staff that
Can't
they
talk.
talk to.
Yeah, and that can't really talk on a
It
deep level.
really can't, right.
You know, and send them back home to the brother that's grieving because he lost his uncle, or the mom that just lost her husband, or, you know, and they still can't talk.
Right.
They can't talk in any other environment. So what do the kids do? They hold it in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a phone call saying, hey, come to the school because your granddaughter is about to commit suicide. She wants to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because she can't talk to nobody.
But this is after she threatened 3 kids in the classroom to kill them because they were bullying her. So we found this out later, but she wanted to actually kill these 3 kids, and I'm like, why didn't you say something?
Yeah.
She's like, cause they told me if I told. I'm like, but you couldn't tell me.
So even the viewers, right? So you just said something that brought a question. You said she said she wanted to kill those 3 kids, you know? And to the viewers that may be like, where does she even come up with this notion? Like, how does she go from, you know, not wanting to punch the kid or whatever? She literally told them that she wanted to kill them. Is that something?
She had punched one of them, but the other one was just like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Don't even worry about it. I'm gonna get you. And she like, you know, I can't fight. I can't fight this person because no matter what I do, they're gonna still come at me. And so that's really the one she wanted to kill, because you continue to come at me.
So what do we as parents stop that trend? You know, like in your day, in my day, not that I'm super old or you're super old, but there was a point in time in history where you could literally fight, and that was it.
Yeah.
But now kids, there's no fighting. It's just killing, and from the killing comes coping, and from coping comes habits and problems and more hurt and pain and more killing.
Yeah.
So in your family, what
I
would...
see that from my generation, we fought. You put up your fist, roll up your sleeve, put your Vaseline on, and you fought. You know.
So that ain't just a thing where they be like, put their hair up and then put Vaseline.
Yeah,
no, it's a real thing?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Why the Vaseline? So you can't really grab them or what?
The Vaseline, because if somebody scratches you, it heals it because it's coated.
Oh, and their fingers almost just scratch off. Okay, just the Vaseline, not the skin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna go get lathered up next time. Handle business like, what? Hold on. Like, they're either gonna think I'm crazy or they're gonna know how to mess with me.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Right.
But for me growing up in the environment I grew up in, it was fights all the time.
Mm.
You know, I grew up in a housing project. We were always fighting. Somebody got into it with somebody at school. Now the fight is at home because we all in this area together, and we can resolve things. We ain't got to fight at school because we can fight at home. And now the kids that are in this generation don't know how to deal with somebody coming to them and, wanting to fight. Or so I can't beat them because they bigger than me, so I'll shoot them, I'll kill them, I'll stab them, that kind of stuff. Instead of trying, in a lot of cases, we had parents that can kind of talk us down, I can talk to Miss So-and-so, and together they would work it out. Our parents, it was easier for our parents to talk to each other then, and I don't understand why it's not now.
Yeah. But
everybody in the neighborhood, if you did something before you got home, your mama knew about it, and the teacher ain't called and told on you. Wow. But Miss So-and-so saw it happen and know that you the one that did it. So she don't call your mama, and by the time you get home, your butt getting whooped.
so even with you, 7 kids. Mm-hmm. Of your 7 kids, mm-hmm. all of them are alive. Yeah. That is a blessing.
Yeah.
Do you fear?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you know a lot of parents that are your age that your kids grew up with that passed? I mean, their kids have been murdered or killed or passed, or do you know any parents, even at the school? Like you said, there's kids that come through the school that you become close with.
Yeah.
That have, but yet, as a parent, mm-hmm. your youngest ones every day go out, or you receive a phone call, or maybe even in the middle of the night. You and Alex are always on the phone. By the way, even driving here, her and Alex are on the phone. Like, they're always on the phone, but every parent's worst nightmare is to receive that phone call in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
And I can even remember in my book, I talk about my brother being shot and killed, and when he was shot and killed by his father-in-law, it was a call that came in at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning to my dad. And me and my dad even talked about it, like, how do you receive that phone call? That's my biggest fear as a father now. Mm-hmm. And then he had to go identify my brother's body. But even you as a parent, like, those steps of having to do that, having to stand there and talk to your kids about their dad dying, having to let your kid walk out of the house and go to school, not knowing if it's going to be the last time you see him because of gangs.
Right.
How does that make you feel? Like,
it's a lot of fear, but it's a lot of prayer.
Mm.
It's a lot of prayer. I cover them every night. I cover them every morning. I pray for the kids that I work with every day, because I know what goes on in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
My grandson starts high school, so he's the oldest grandchild, but he starts high school in a matter of weeks, and he did the freshman connection. That's what they call it at his school, where they go to the school for a few hours for a week, just to kind of learn the school, take their ID, get their, their schedule, kind of learn what the school is and things like that. And Dad didn't take him one day out of the week, but he trailed the bus. He didn't know he was trailing the bus, but he trailed the bus just to make sure that he was okay, that he knew where he was going, different things like that. But the whole time, I'm watching my grandkids this summer. So his sisters and him are at home with me every day, all week, because their parents are at work.
Yeah.
So that week I'm like on pins and needles. He goes to the store that's like 3 blocks away. I'm like, call me. Where you at? Are you in the store yet? Okay, get what you need. When you get ready to leave, call me back. And so he's like, Nana, I'm okay.
The store around the corner
I'm
from
okay,
you?
Nana, I'm okay. Yeah, I mean, from his, where they live at.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, even though they live in what would be considered a better neighborhood, you still don't get rid of that fear.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's still Chicago.
You still don't get rid of that fear.
So a couple questions for you.
Okay.
As a parent, has any of your daughters been molested?
Yes.
Have any of your daughters been raped?
Yes.
Have you ever been molested?
Tempted.
Have you ever been raped?
No.
What would you tell your kid in a scenario? Would you want your kids to tell you these things?
Yeah.
Would you talk them through it?
Yeah.
If you caught it in the process of happening, would you do like your grandkid and want to kill him? Or what is gonna happen?
Well, just from thinking, I probably would react in a violent manner because that's my kid. That's somebody that I almost died having. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, you finna be, paying some kind of price. If I catch you in the act, that might be the price that you don't make it out of this house or you make it to a hospital. But if it's like later on I find out about it, then yeah, I'm pressing charges. You gonna pay for this one way or the other. You can talk about it, you can tell me about it, but in the end, this is your fate. You gonna be charged.
So did you tell your daughters at a young age? Did you share with them that it was attempted on you?
No.
No? So none of them know that yet?
Yeah, some of them know.
Some of them? But they don't know,
Not everybody. They don't know who it is.
Got you. Wow.
They know that it's a family member, but they don't know who it is. And
Right.
I've never brought this family member around them.
So you move differently around?
If that family member is at a family function, I'm always paying attention to my girls. But I don't have to do that anymore. This family member is deceased, so.
Okay.
Mm.
So I have a question for you then. If you knew a person that violated you and that person was in an environment that you're in with other people that they could violate, why won't family members say something just in case to stop it from happening to the next person?
I think it's a
makes
thing
sense.
of shame. How are they gonna feel if I tell them this?
And who is
Are
they?
Kids, my kids. It's a thing of shame. Because your kids see you as the hero, the person that they look up to, but that happened to you. So, it's a thing of, I'm not telling them this because I don't want them to feel like, I'm not able to take care of them. Or you're ashamed that you let that happen.
Even though you didn't have any control of it?
Didn't have no control of it.
Even though you're younger?
Even though I was a 10-year-old kid.
But you're still afraid of what your kids now who are 10 or older or whatever may think of you as a kid?
I'm not so much of that anymore. I just haven't because I don't know how they would react to it.
What if I tell you this? What if I tell you that that piece of wisdom and knowledge, by having that conversation with them, could help them? What if a parent would say, hey, this happened to me. Can we, when I was younger, I'm not a superhero. I'm not perfect. I have gone through some things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't live up to the expectation that you think I am, but just know that I'm stronger than what you know that I am, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if this happened to you, because it happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
I got through it, you can get through it. Come talk to me about it. Because a lot of burdens that I'm seeing as I talk to different people and even my own family members,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, some of them are raped, but then that same person or molested or whatever is still out there doing more stuff to more people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more shame.
Mm-hmm.
And that person still walking around eating hamburgers and chips and like, hey, hey. And it's kind of like you side-eyeing them, everybody else hugging them. And yeah, and it's a family thing.
Yeah.
What happens in our family stays in our family.
Yeah. And think about it. A lot of times that's what we were told as kids. Whatever happens stays here. Everybody don't need to know my business. My business is my business, you know. And we grew up with that mentality. You don't tell what happened inside of the house. These four walls, you don't tell.
So even as a mom, right? You're a mom. You have 7
Mhm.
kids. What would you? So I know of a situation, a scenario,
Mhm.
not yours, but a scenario, and I want to know what you would do in this scenario.
Okay.
I know of a scenario where a mom was advised that her son violated her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in that? Because here's the truth in it is this: if the mom calls the police,
Mm-hmm.
she just ruined her son's life.
Yeah.
Her son is young, but some kids make mistakes, but you don't just sweep that under the rug. You have to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's family business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's family secrets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The daughter is suffering silently. The
Mm-hmm.
mom knows. In the scenario, the mom may have been a victim herself, but just kept it quiet at some point in time by somebody else. It's like, hey, if I made it through, then she can make it through.
Mm-hmm.
And now both of these people, side by side, and they grew up together, sister side-eyeing the brother, family secret that's locked in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers is living normal life, but then it's kind of like, where does brother get this from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the whole family is dysfunctional in some manner, but yet nobody wants to talk about it.
Do you also understand that he's in pain too? Because now he realizes what he did to his sister and why she treats him the way that she treats him. In a scenario like that, if it was me, I probably would seek counsel before I decided what I wanted to do. You know, for them. They would have to go to counseling, I would go to counseling too. As a parent and my kids, I need to know what I need to do before. Does he just need some mental help and not to be locked up somewhere where he'll never get any help and he'll come out and do the same thing to somebody else?
And then he's flagged the rest of his life, probably, you
Mm-hmm.
know, depending on his age as
Mm-hmm.
sex offender and all of this stuff, and job has no
And
power.
sometimes that carries over longer than it actually needs to.
Right.
You know, because if I did something when I was 13 years old like that, I'm 25, 30, and it's still
known as
lingering
that.
there. You know, and it affects their lifestyle, it affects their mental health,
Wow.
and they just go through life feeling like they're nothing.
Got to be honest with you guys, the viewers. Understanding love isn't simple.
No.
Love is so complicated, and the burdens that parents have to carry and that kids carry around is huge. is overwhelming at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even imagine having to make a decision of that magnitude. And like you say, seek counseling. But here you are, from a mom's point of view, looking at the two kids that you love with all your heart and you give your life for them.
Mm-hmm.
And these two kids in two separate scenarios where they're looking at you as mom, you got to do something.
Right.
One, and the other one's like, Mom, don't do something. You know, like, because if
Right.
you choose the one thing, you know, and you're looking at them.
You ruin the kid's life, but if you choose to not do anything, you ruin both of their lives.
Wow.
And yours too.
That is definitely, and then that's the now.
Yeah.
Now let's look at tomorrow or in the future. What happens is that little boy could grow up to be a grown man that does that, or that little boy could grow up and have that tag that's on him, or that little girl grows up and she's looking at every family member, so she won't even let her kid go spend the night at nobody's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then that mom grows up or becomes older and she's looking like, I have this secret, this burden that's eating at me, and I understand why my daughter don't love me, or we're not as close as we should be, or why my son, you know, is side-eyeing me and don't want to be around, or why family reunions and cookouts and Christmas aren't as close as they should be. And now you have the daughter moving differently, her kids moving differently, you know, and generations just.
Yeah.
But where do we stop that? How do we stop that?
Communication is a big part of that. If you can't, okay, so my kids, I'm gonna use my own kids. All of them don't talk to me like they, you know, like they should. Was having a conversation with Marquita, and you know, just generally talking, and she's like, "Well, Ma, I don't know how to do that. I don't understand how I'm supposed to do that." And we had to actually sit down and just have a real conversation about it. And after we talked, she was like, "I get it. I really get it." But I mean, you walking around like, you know, I'm wrong, but we never had a conversation about it.
And we don't always have all the answers either.
Right.
And as a parent,
No
it's okay
book.
to admit it, yeah.
No book we can read. Nobody can tell you how to be a parent because your child is different from my child.
Which brings me to this, everyone. The next video that you're going to see is going to be Alex and her mom talking about the things that they don't know about each other, which is going to be an amazing conversation because as we sit here and we talk, I've learned a lot about you that I didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me things that I'm sure Alex didn't know. And also there's things that I know from the previous video that Alex told me that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But as a parent, you feel like you know everything. Like, that's my kid, I know everything. But then
You know what? After having 7 of them, no, I no longer believe that.
And there's going to be times where you're close to him and there's going to be times where you're not.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll ever not be close to Alex. I don't know because we share so many of the same attitude, this same personality traits. A lot of me is in Alex and I see it, you know, so I don't know if we would ever not talk. Same with Elijah. I don't think we would ever not talk because him being my male child, he's like really open about stuff. He'll come and say stuff to me and I go, okay.
You know what's crazy is this? It's almost like as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
you're mandated by the state. And the reason I'm going to say that is for this reason. A kid will come and they'll talk to you and they'll tell you just as much as they know that you can handle or just as much as they know that you need to know without them getting in too much trouble with somebody else. And your kids are the same way. There's times where they would tell you, you know, this amount, but there's times they're just going to skim the top and be like,
yeah.
But there's a whole section of them that you do not even.
Years later, you find out stuff that they done, But it's years later, and you're like, what's the point of beating them now? You know, what's the point of smacking you across your head? It ain't gonna help.
And you're just now getting the understanding of who your loved one is, which is mind blowing.
I mean, it's crazy that some people look at me and go, "We don't know how you still standing."
Yeah.
I'm still standing for my kids. Y'all don't understand that.
And that's it. That's part of that burden that we was talking about. How no matter what you've gone through, lost 7, family members and plus some, you still standing and you have to do it. You feel like there's no other reason. You cannot take a day off. You cannot do all of this stuff. You need to.
Like I told my kids, I said, when you become depressed and you learn how to reverse your depression into something positive, you'll never be depressed again. You will never be depressed again because now you know how to flip it where it's not depression anymore.
You can find a positive in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people out there that thrive in depression.
Mm-hmm.
They would sit there and they would turn a happy moment and they always see the bad in it. They're always looking. They even will leech and attach to somebody that's happy just to suck the happiness out of them.
Misery loves company.
They do. But on a serious note, guys, I think that today was phenomenal. I love talking to you. I love getting to know who you were. I love interacting so that our viewers and our audience can see who you are and understand love and understand the version of love, understand who Alex is, to understand who the both of you are going to be, who you are and where you came from. I'm looking forward to, I'm really excited about next week when we sit down and we talk about love on that level between you two, the secrets. Because everybody has them. Every family has them, family secrets. And every family is grieving in certain ways. And in doing this interview, I realized that there's a lot of similarities between you and Alex that
we don't realize.
Yeah. And also, and I don't know if the viewers can see this, there's some things that had you, as a parent, dip down in your stuff and spilled it out to show them that you're not a superhero, you could have prevented some things
from happening
from them.
Yeah.
And I write about my stuff.
And we learn about our mistakes. We learn from our mistakes.
You're learning through them as you go now.
Our mistakes are the things that make us stronger. Because now I realize that's a mistake, and now I need to figure out how to flip it so that it doesn't affect other people.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people are so afraid of being judged, and they might sit here like, how can Alex come on here and spill her beans, and then Lonetta come spill her beans, and
let them judge me. My thing is, what does it say? Judge not unless you want to be judged. The only person that can really judge me is God, because He sees everything I do.
Yeah. And I know that you said the main thing you wanted to do was help impact others. Yeah. Make a difference, change. If you can help another household, you're going to help them. They're going to learn from yours. But to the viewers, I want to thank you for tuning in today. I think we had an amazing segment. Yeah. I really enjoyed the time that we had. And I wanted to show today that not every family is perfect, that we're all growing, that we all make mistakes. And it's very important to learn through our mistakes. And the people that we become or evolve into are due to the decisions that we decide to make. And a lot of us show our friendship, our relationships, and even family on a surface level. There's nothing deep about it. It's like, I don't want you to judge me, so I'm only going to give you the skim part of the milk at the top. I'm going to keep the deep stuff here, and I'm going to deal with it. But at some point in time, the depth of that hurt, that pain, that load that you're carrying is going to spill over from generation to generation, from relationship to relationship, from friendship to friendship, partnership to partnership. Even myself, I have friends that I'm just like, man,
Like, I don't even understand how you are even alive. Like, you just get on my nerves.
Yeah.
But I'm sure my friends are looking at me like, dude, you got some serious issues. And I do. Because none of us are perfect. But we can only do the best with what we have. And if you can walk away with anything from this segment, I would say this. We all need somebody that we can talk to. Let's not cope. Let's seek counseling. You know, it's bigger than us. It's generational. And if you had anything that you wanted to tell the crowd before we leave, Lonetta?
Learn to love people for who they are, not what they are. And also learn to communicate with the people that are closest to you. Because once you start communicating, they'll become more open, and they'll start to go, okay, I think I can tell you this now.
Yeah.
You know.
And I know that we had a scare where there's a point in time where you kind of went back and forth. He's like, I don't know if I should, you know, talk or whatever. And I'm like, I'm glad that you did come on and you shared that, you know, whatever you're going through. Because what we're going through, our problem is the answer to somebody else's problem. You know, we have the answers, they have the answers to each other's problems. But hey guys, again, thank you for tuning in. I'm Tarrance, this is Lonetta, and we're in this segment talking about understanding love. And hopefully you got a understanding of what love is, or understanding of who Alex or who Lonetta, or who I am. And maybe you can take our problems or our answers that we have and apply them to your life. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, face-to-face_WTW. Again, that's face-to-face_WTW. I'm Tarrance. I love you guys. Stay tuned.